The number one thing I bet you're missing to hold that academy in your hand and give that speech you've been dreaming of is to create the greatest, most passionate villain possible. Your story can only be as good as your villain. That is so important to know. And your villain can't be a cartoon-like person. They have to be well developed, because you can't love your protagonist more than you dislike or feel anxious when you see the villain. The villain is convinced he or she is the good guy. They absolutely believe that what they're doing is justified and that it's the correct and right thing to do. So when you think about your villain, think about all the likable qualities and traits of this person or creature, and make a list and make sure that you feel, yeah, I really, for a minute, pretend you really adore them, you really like them. Your villain has to be worthy enough to make your protagonist, your hero, look good. So your villain has to have traits that are terrible, horrifying, scary, creepy, mean, so that when your hero beats the villain, we realize that that would be a difficult thing to do. Your villain needs to be clever, and he or she needs to have accomplished something in life, something respectable, something that others then are either careful not to offend, and for good reason. Your villain can't be a fool. If they're a fool or a bumbler, I mean, that's okay in comedy, but in a real drama, if they don't literally, absolutely grab your attention and make you terrified or concerned, then again, there's no teeth in your story. There's nothing for the hero to overcome. So think about the physical characteristics of your villain. In some movies, they're quite attractive, and so it's misleading. Usually there's something just a little bit off. So even if they're attractive or charismatic, there's something that just makes your skin crawl. Also, you want to know the backstory of your villain. So even if you're not going to be able to write that, in other words, you can't give us exposition. You don't want long dialogue sequences about the villain's terrible childhood, but we have to learn about it in a scene or two or three, and we have to feel some compassion, some understanding. How did they become this way? What happened? What were their parents like? Was there a war? Did they suffer greatly at the hands of someone? How did they become this way? If you're in a restaurant and someone is nasty to the waiter, particularly to the busboys, or in any position of power, it really reveals their true self, right? I'm sure in real life you've been out with people and they seem so nice, and then all of a sudden you see them in public with people who serve them, and this horrible, nasty person comes out. We've seen this in films where the villain is evil to the dog or an animal, and that's very telling. I mean, oh my gosh, look at John Wick, okay? Like the whole movie is based on they shot his dog, and that's not acceptable. The other is if you see the villain in a very kind of small moment do something that's kind of even hard to see or pick up on, but it's really awful, that's telling. And that's a marvelous way to reveal them. Also, we want to see your villain evolve over time. We want to see that they have some kind of character arc, not that they're just flat. We don't want it to be where they do the expected thing. You want to be a bit surprised by their actions. We also want to know the hopes and dreams of the villain. What does he or she aspire to be? They usually have aspirations and goals too. The antagonist of your story, the villain, is really the essential motivator for our protagonist and hero. So please spend the time developing this character. You must know them so well that when you create the scenes, you can embed into the scene all those levels so that we feel it, so that we know it. Imagine your villain making their case to God about why they're doing what they're doing. So the villain ultimately knows he too will be judged. But like Thanos, Thanos said, I'm going to destroy half the population to save the planet. And he's passionate about it. So I hope this gives you some insight into villainy. And I wore, just for you, my special villain outfit, all in black.